Tomorrow marks 8 years since the shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. The shooting, as you remember, killed 17 people and wounded several more. It also reignited a national debate over gun laws and school safety. We are now joined by Jaclyn Corin. She was a student at the high school and now is the executive director of March for Our Lives. Jackie, so good to see you. When I was down in Parkland covering the shooting and the aftermath and the students that rallied together, you included, to try to create change. You and I spoke several times down in Florida and in the years that followed. Remind our viewers of your story, what you experienced.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and it's good to see you. 8 years ago tomorrow, I was a junior at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, and it was any other day. It was Valentine's Day, so good feelings and joy were in the air, and that was cut short when 17 people were murdered with an AR-15 in the last period of the day at school. Thousands of people in my community live with the effects of that every single day. And in the days after, I came together with some friends and tried to do something to change the gun laws in this country. We started March for Our Lives. Almost 1 million people marched with us in Washington, D.C. just over a month later, and the fight still continues.
That was a huge march. Jackie, you and I spoke in the weeks following the shooting when you were heading back to school. I want to play a little bit of that interview.
I think we all don't want Parkland to be a dirty word anymore. We want Parkland to be a word that people feel inspired by.
Jackie, you've devoted your life's work to this cause. Do you feel that you've achieved that goal of Parkland being what Parkland symbolizes?
It's really strange to see myself so young talking about that, because now that I'm 25, it really shocks me that I really was a child when this happened. But, I think Parkland did change so much. I think it awakened a generation. We actually put a name to this issue we were all feeling. And unfortunately, so many kids still feel when they go to school every single day. But there have been so many wins. Since 2018, we passed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act back in 2022. It was the biggest federal reform in over 30 years in this country. It expanded background checks for buyers under 21, closed loopholes in domestic violence cases, and invested millions and millions in mental health and community violence prevention. And more than anything, it actually, started a conversation. And of course, we want to continue that conversation, especially going into this year's midterms, because of course, this is a political issue. Unfortunately, it should not be a political issue, but our lawmakers have made it one. So we need to make sure we are constantly thinking about who can we elect that actually is going to change something on this issue, so we can keep pushing on the federal level and, of course, on the state level as well, because that's where most of the movement's wins have actually happened.
So, Jackie, as a father now of a 3-year-old, not only did I, like Adriana, cover that horrific day back on February 14th, but also I've done stories where I've gone into schools where they are conducting drills with little kids, not high schoolers. I'm talking about 3rd and 4th graders. And you see these little children with their backpacks that are bigger than they are, trying to pick up a scissor or a pencil or something to defend themselves while they barricade this classroom. And it's absolutely, to me, heartbreaking. It feels like, yes, you point to the progresses that have been made, but it feels also like school shootings and mass shootings in this country are just now a fact of life. And even though they happen in other countries, we just saw one in British Columbia earlier this week, it almost has become accepted that if you are in a space in the United States of America, the chances that you could be killed by a firearm are greater in our country than in other countries in the developed world. So with the wins that you are rightfully celebrating, can you talk to us about what you would like to see? What would be an absolute win for you and others who have suffered through something like this?
I mean, you're right. Our country has a unique problem because there are more guns than people in this country. And unfortunately, our political environment has also forced rollbacks in many states around the country, where we have loosened permit requirements, where we have expanded permitless carry. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of expansion of gun industry immunity. And so that's what I would focus on, actually, this issue is so abstract to so many, and the gun industry has put in millions of marketing dollars to make this feel like something that is a series of isolated incidents. But really, it's a part of a massive system that the gun industry and gun lobby allow to continue. Unfortunately, we've seen states recently in the last year, like Tennessee, narrowing the circumstances under which gun manufacturers and sellers can be held liable. West Virginia and Montana enacted similar immunity expanding laws. So the more we actually have a broader conversation in this country about the immunity the gun industry experiences, and actually start treating the gun industry like we did the tobacco industry back in the late 20th century, that's where we'll actually start to see change.
Jackie, before you go, did you have any reaction to the way the politicians who have long supported the National Rifle Association, who have long been against some of the things you're fighting for, come out so forcefully when Alex Preddy in Minneapolis, a man who was licensed to carry a firearm, was killed by ICE agents, and you saw members of Congress, members of the Trump administration coming out and saying, well, he shouldn't have carried a gun to a protest, which is part of the messaging that up until that moment they had as to why the Second Amendment was so instrumental to their reason for being. What was your reaction to hearing some of those statements?
Yeah, I mean, those NRA-backed and gun lobby-backed, because the gun lobby is not just the NRA. There are other forces that play, like the National Shooting Sports Foundation, by the way, which now outspends the NRA in our political cycles. But aside from that, these people are hypocrites. They pursue opportunities in our politics where convenient, but they don't actually have a real moral principle behind them, which is why we need to keep calling them out and showcasing their continued hypocrisy in moments like this.
Jackie, thank you so much. We are thinking of you and the entire Marjory Stoneman Douglas family and the lives that were lost, you know, especially as we get into the anniversary tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time. Good to see you.
Thank you.